Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I do think it is about high time we take a look at the overall state of the game, because I don't think we are doing that well currently, and frustratingly we haven't seen no real kind of proper big updates from Kabam. We haven't seen any proper dev diaries in like I think over a year by now, and that is quite worrisome, because for all of the posts promising better communication, better kind of being informative and stuff like that, being more transparent, Kabam really hasn't been. And then it also feels that the game is kind of like all over the place, rewards wise, all over the place, and let's say the meaningfulness of these game modes has just been consistently skewed. Just like a good fact right now would be that if you take Alliance War season, and I'm not gonna, and people misunderstood the point that I was pointing out when I was reviewing this month's side event. If you take a look at season rewards, you get 9,000 tier 3 alpha fragments and 11,400 tier 6 basic fragments if you finish in top 10 masters. You get less than that if you finish bottom 20 masters. But this is the amount that you get from monthly side event quest that everybody can get. I'm not saying at all Kabam shouldn't be putting in stuff, you know, the rank 4 materials in monthly side event quests. I'm saying it is inappropriate in comparison to Alliance War rewards. I'm saying if that is something, if this is the same amount that goes in Alliance War side event, then the fact that, you know, if you are among top 10 best alliances in the world should probably be significantly higher than that. So there is a very huge kind of discrepancy in how meaningful rewards you can earn in every game mode. And then if you, for instance, take a look at what can you earn by playing Incursions, it's completely laughable. But rather than having, you know, just kind of like a generic long rant, I did decide to structure this going from one game mode to another and kind of laying out my thoughts about the game modes currently, and where those game modes are at and what should change. So we're going to start with the arena. And arenas in general at the moment, in my opinion, are not in a good state because of two reasons. Number one, I do think that the rewards top brackets have to be increased because the cutoffs have gotten insane. Now, it's one thing if you grind for a rerun hero or a 6-star basic arena, but 6-star featured arena is just pretty much impossible to do unless you spend hundreds and hundreds of units. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of units. Just to put it in perspective, I do have one of the 100 largest accounts in the game, but I would have absolutely no chance to pick up any random new champion. Any champion that's going to get added next month, whatever. Kabam Original, Herald, or Quicksilver, or it doesn't have to be Wiccan that's getting added now. If even I would want to grind for something, sincerely putting in as much as effort as I can, I would have to get at least like 9,000 units, which is basically $300 worth of units. And that shows a huge problem, especially if we can see that there is still a ton of modders or botters that are getting these arena rewards with virtually impossible tasks, with impossible accounts that should not be able to compete in terms of grinding like that, unless there are like 8 people grinding 24/7 on shifts and using like arena boost and everything else. Those scores should not really be possible that we can see put up by very, very small accounts. So obviously we do have issue with again, the integrity of contest, which has been extremely highlighted thanks to Battlegrounds. I knew we definitely have plenty of problems, but I didn't think the game was that infested. And the fact that Kabam seems to be impotent in dealing with them is just even more sad. And then past that point, I don't think that we have a problem with low tier grinding. As in, I don't think that we should be getting many more battle chips or many more units or anything like that. I think everything at the lower end of arena is perfectly reasonable. The tempo that you can acquire battle chips, the tempo that you can acquire units, I don't think it requires major alterations. I do think that rank rewards need to be revisited. I do think it probably should be about 300 spots or 250 spots for the 6-star champion. And then the rest of the rank rewards, in my opinion, should also be somewhat improved to like I don't know, 5,000 6-star shards here, and then 3,000 6-star shards, 1 to 5%, and just kind of like amp them up, because it has been a really long time since we have seen a revamp in arenas. And then obviously we do have these Sunday arenas that are absolute garbage, and that Clash Catalyst arenas should have been long replaced or supplemented with Tier 2 Alpha Catalyst arena, Tier 5 Basic Fragment arena, and stuff like that. I think it's well overdue for those, because at the moment grinding, you know, an hour or two for 2 Tier 1 Alpha Catalysts seems quite a bit silly and just not really a serious thing to do. So I do think that the arena definitely needs A, cleaning up majorly, and B, just kind of some of these updates that bring arena with the times that have changed, because it has been, I think, well over a year since the last arena changes happened. Right, moving on from arena, taking a look at Incursions. Well, Incursions is just a dumpster, let's face it. Incursions is so out of times that they could change they could add a star level to every crystal in Incursion store, and it would still be quite bad. As in, like, at the moment you have to play Incursions for like 3-4 hours in a course of like 2 or 3 weeks or something like that to get a 5-star crystal, which a significant portion of the player base just doesn't care about. I do think Incursions at large is the most underutilized design project Kabam has ever made. And I also think majority of it is with the rewards. Now, I don't think Incursions is a perfect game mode by any means, playability-wise, but I do think that Kabam has made sure that Incursions is all but abandoned by virtually everybody, by just keeping rewards extremely, extremely bad in there. Again, here, a proof for that concept was very simple. The 1 month when Kabam gave away 30 generic 6 stones, if you reach zone 20, everybody was playing Incursions. Everybody was interested in streaming Incursions, running Incursions, pushing as high as you can, and some people even ranked up champions for Incursions. But they never brought it back. But that event immediately showed that with the game mode have appropriately good rewards, Incursions could be an actual game mode that matters. Like, to put it in contrast, everybody loved Battlegrounds, thinks there's going to be good rewards. Hopefully there will be. We're going to get to that in a bit. But people already started ranking a whole bunch of champions for Battlegrounds to make their deck stronger. Nobody does it for Incursions. Why? Because it's not worth it. Nobody really cares for Incursions. Now, if Incursions offered you a good amount of rewards, you'd obviously try and make sure that you can do your best. And then you would rank champions specifically for Incursions. Then we would see more A-Guns ranked up, more Morning Stars ranked up, so on and so forth. But no, we don't get that. So, again, I don't think there has to be major design changes in the game mode, even though, again, I would like some adjustments to it, because I do think it's well too random, so to speak. But I think the main issue here, again, unfortunately, is just completely abysmal rewards, and the game mode's completely irrelevant. They might as well take it away from the game completely, and I don't think it would, you know, cause some sort of major problem. They could literally delete it, and it would hardly be noticed by a significant portion of the players who never really play it, or if they do play it, they definitely don't have any deep investment in the game, or they just do it because, you know, they need to pass the time or something. Right, so we checked on Arena, checked on Incursions. If you check out on the special quests, and by special quests we basically typically mean Everest type content. Now, there is good news about Abyss of Legends. If we take a look at Abyss of Legends and rewards, we can see that the baseline rewards of Abyss are starting to kind of fall off a bit. You can't get any rank 4 materials here, and there are obviously some important things that you can acquire, like 6-star generic 6 stone and that 10 champion nexus, which is very rare, and 3 tier 5 CC is still quite good. But the rewards are slowly starting to drift off, whilst we are still in a period where you can't really do Abyss extremely, extremely cheaply if you haven't explored it yet already. Now, the good thing about Abyss was the boost that it received because of Korean Challenges Volume 2, because you can kind of double up and make it much more worthwhile to do. Whilst I don't think that there should be Everest content out like already, I do think that a new type of Everest content is something that Kabam should be looking at right now for the launch of beginning of new year or end of this year. I do think it would be only fair and reasonable if we kind of move on past Abyss, especially the more time, goes by, the less impressive these rewards are going to be. And I have discussed this in several streams previously, where people still ask, is it worth to do Labyrinth of Legends, for instance, right now? And I say, yes, Labyrinth of Legends is very much so worth doing, because we are at a place now where we can bring in rank 5 5-star champions, rank 3 6-star champions, and do entire Labyrinth with a handful of items or virtually no items at all. And therefore, just the fact itself that we can get like 5 tier 4 CCs of each class is still a very meaningful thing, because tier 4 CCs somehow are a very, very rare resource these days. And, a bunch of tier 12 is kind of neat as well. But the fact that Labyrinth is still worth doing is not a testament to the awesomeness or timelessness of the rewards in Labyrinth. It's just the fact that the cost of running Labyrinth has gone extremely low to the point where it virtually doesn't exist. And Abyss eventually is going to get there, whether it is when we have rank 5 6 stars or 7 stars or something like that. But it's definitely not there right now. Even if you can bring in a full team of 6-star rank 4s, you'd still likely have to use a fair, decent bunch of items to explore Abyss. Again, so with that in mind, the worthwhileness of that, when you put it right next to the cost that it would be required to run, is decreasing. So whilst I don't think, again, that we are in desperate need for a new Everest content, I would like to know, again, I would like Kabam to be transparent and upfront and tell us that they are perhaps planning something or scheduling a release for it at some point next year or something like that. Because I definitely wouldn't want to wait another, 2 years if the game lives to that point for an Everest content to come out again. I do think the gap in between Labyrinth and Abyss was also way too long, just to throw it in there. Right, now that we have covered all that, let's get to the Alliance Quest. What do I think of Alliance Quest? And in reality, I think Alliance Quest has kind of outlived its purpose, kind of outlived its meaning, and it becomes more and more clear to me that Kabam is overdoing it with Alliance Quest. As in, our time and effort requirement in Alliance Quest, I think, is just not necessary. In my head, it's kind of like taking the same exam every day. So you have to sacrifice a part of your day to answer the same questions, to do the same fights every single day. And yeah, obviously your results will slightly vary because maybe you have a bad day, you're not focused, you miss an answer or something like that. But in general, if you can do it for 1, 2, 3 weeks, it should be quite obvious that you're going to be able to pass that exam. As in, like, if you take the same exam 5 days in a row, and if you pass it and everything's fine, there shouldn't be a need to test you 5 times again next week. So in my head, Alliance Quest at the moment is just unnecessary invasion of our private lives, and it demands the biggest kind of sacrifice, because Alliance Quest is a content that we have to play last thing before we go to bed. I can't even count the number of fights I have gotten into my girlfriend because of Alliance Quest, because I either need to get to it whilst we're traveling or doing something together on a weekend, or because I have to get to it just before we go to bed, and so on and so forth. And I just don't think there's need for it. I really don't think so. Ultimately, I don't think Alliance Quest is going that splendidly either way, because it's been a while since map 8 has been added. We still don't have modifiers in map 8, and there is just, what's the best way? I don't think there's going to be anything Kabam can do to make this game mode fun, interesting, or necessary. I do think Alliance Quest quite literally should be very, very simple map where you have like 9 parts, where everybody, does 5 fights, fights the mini boss, and that's it. Something that you can log in once, do very quickly, and then forget about it for 24 hours. And the entire point of Alliance Quest is kind of to force you to show up, right? and that's what it should be. As long as you check in your alliance every 24 hours, clear your few fights, take down the mini boss, that should be it. There is no need for all of these global nodes, elaborate maps, some, crazy encounters, interactions. It's just not fun. It's a chore. It will always be a chore. Nobody rubs their hands together. It's like, oh boy, I get to play AQ today. No, everybody celebrates when AQ ends. Why? Because we don't want to play it. We obviously play it because, of the rewards. But nobody really wants to do it. Definitely not to this extent. And Kabam is just refusing to accept it, and they release new maps, and they make it longer, and they increase the health pools, and then they come up with another idea. How about if we do this? How about if... No, none of it. Alliance Quest should not exist in this format. Alliance Quest should be came, checked in, walked away. That should be pretty much what Alliance Quest is for a team. And yeah, of course, you need to have in like a couple of fights, kind of like a baseline indicator, so you can't bring in somebody who is completely unable to play the game, or somebody who doesn't have the account to hang with the people or something like that. So there has to be that very quick kind of reality check, more or less, more or less you show your ID that you are where you're supposed to be. And that's it. There is no need for Alliance Quest to take 20 minutes in evening, 20 minutes in morning, and 20 minutes in midday. Just no need. So I do think Alliance Quest, again, is feeling extremely stale. I have seen definitely several threads on the forums, people having issues with the latest update as well, because they did change it up for maps 7 and 6 and 5 on the last half-season update. I think they didn't touch map 8, surprisingly, because we don't have modifiers in map 8 still even. And it's even if we're gonna get those modifiers, it might be fun for a week or two till we learn how to deal with them. And then there's gonna be the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. An ideal world in my head, Alliance Quest should be 4 days, log in once within a 24-hour period, spend, 5-6 minutes clearing your path, and that's it. Move on. Forget about it. Especially at the moment, because of things like Alliance Quest and Alliance War, if you're playing in competitive alliance, you either have to break TOS by giving somebody your login if you're unable to play, you're somewhere on a vacation, or you need to kind of sacrifice or ruin your vacation and, put your real life stuff on hold to be able to play Alliance Quest, or, just don't show up and screw over your entire team. So I do think the way this entire game mode is set up at the moment, the fact that everybody has to show up every day, multiple times a day for a prolonged amount of time, it's just not necessary. I think it's antiquated. I think it's way outlived its usefulness. I think just get rid of it is what I really think of Alliance Quest. I mean, get rid of it, or most of it, or do something different. Alliance War. Now, Alliance War, again, is quite significantly different game mode. Some people love it, some people don't love it. Alliance Quest, at the moment, I think is doing better than most game modes. Obviously, we have this season, this update with crazy bugs and crazy issues, and I'm very surprised this season is still currently happening. And with the Kabam's history of messing things up, it is quite literally a coin toss whether the season is going to go full length or Kabam is going to mess things up yet again somehow for everyone, and the season is going to have to finish early. But I think as far as the actual fighting is involved, I think, the game mode is still standing. Kabam has started updating the nodes more frequently. There are more tactics changing. Some we do like more, some we like less. I think that isn't as problematic. I do think it's a time for a new map. I think we have been playing on this map for way too long. But whatever. Okay, fine. I do think, however, that the rewards, even though they got updated not that long ago, again, to put in perspective, the fact that Kabam yesterday sold, again, more Tier 6 Basic that you can get by finishing a season in Masters for $50. And to put it in perspective, that side event awards rank 4 materials in the same quantity as if you get by placing in top 10 masters. I just don't think they're up to par at all. Moves like that make the entire effort in Alliance War a lot more and more meaningless. So I do think Kabam has to address this, and quite quickly. If they want to accelerate the game economy, they have to do it properly via the actual game modes that people are competing in Alliance Quest, in Alliance War, in the Battlegrounds in future, not just in side events, not just in monthly event quests or some offers with daily cards. They have to actually kind of like level up the rewards and resources throughout the entire game. And that is a very big issue, because if you take a look at Summoner Advancement rewards, if you take a look at Arena rewards, if you take a look at 3-day event rewards, they are so imbalanced and behind the times compared to side events, for instance, compared to Alliance Wars and everybody else. Right, so I don't have that many notes for Alliance War, aside from the fact that generic issues Kabam has are ruining the mode. And the last mode, last mention there will be, I think matchmaking is quite atrocious. I do think matchmaking definitely needs to be revisited in Alliance War. We have, I think, currently team that largely faces plat 2, plat 3 alliances in like second or third spot overall, and they are there because they tank for no other better reason. And they basically are at the top of the Masters, allegedly, even though they would quite literally lose to almost every Masters alliance. So that does not seem quite fair balancing matchmaking there at all. But, you know, that is yet another thing there that I have very little faith in Kabam with. So Alliance War, I don't have that many notes. I do think that they are doing some effort to keep it fresh and changed up. I do just would love to see appropriate rewards for the effort and resources required there. Right, so now we have been going on for 20 minutes already, but we need to move on to monthly event quests. Now, monthly event quests at the moment, in my opinion, are quite in a sad and pathetic state. We have still only Cav EQ difficulty, even though we have Thronebreaker and Paragon titles in the game. I know for a fact majority of my viewers don't even bother doing this. If you have a piece of content that you are releasing religiously every month, and if you have 5 difficulties, but there is a very significant portion of the player base who just doesn't really bother with it anymore, that to me tells you that it's not going too well. If we take a look at it, I think we get like 7,000 6-star shards, so not even a 6-star crystal. We don't even get a full TFI basic, which we can get just by logging in. Now that we have Paragon daily crystals, you quite literally can get a full TFI basic for logging in, and you can get double the amount of TFI CC for logging in, and then you can get for this Cav EQ. I think I'm not saying that they have to add a new difficulty. I'm saying that they need to redesign this to bring it up with the times. I don't care whether they call it Cav difficulty or Thronebreaker difficulty or Legendary difficulty or Epic difficulty. All I care is that they actually make it more challenging to a degree, increase the difficulty, and with that they also increase the rewards that you can earn, because even me, the content creator, I'm struggling to find reasons to do this right now. And I, again, know for a fact that I have a large portion of viewers who just don't. About a year ago, or year and a half ago, when you streamed monthly event quest, you always could get, you know, many hundred of people viewing the first day, because they wanted to see how to defeat the final bosses, because they were interested. They wanted to know which path to take, stuff like that. Right now, just nobody cares. It's just another regular stream. The people who want to show up. People who don't show up. And that's just sad reality. This entire monthly event quest has just started to mean very little to a lot of summoners. And again, this is, I think, a very great example of Kabam being well behind the community in terms of the needs. And they always seem to be lagging behind, and then we need to campaign and ask for something for half a year, and then maybe Kabam does something about it. This should already be live in a game months ago. Nobody has been impressed with Cav EQ or Cav EQ rewards well, pretty much ever since they announced them, to be honest, because there was always a bit of controversy. But they kept jigging it, they kept tweaking it, they kept adjusting the nodes, but they never kept adjusting the rewards. And that's the big problem there. They kept trying to make sure that people are happy and satisfied with the content that they're putting up without trying to make sure that we actually have a reason to care about it. And just many people don't. Monthly event quests, are a bit of a joke. That being said, side events, I think side events in general at the moment are very uneven. The rewards buys, they're keeping some items close to their chest. Like, they haven't increased the amount of 5-star shards that we can earn, for instance. They haven't really they haven't increased the amount of 6-star shards that we can earn significantly over, last year or two. So they won't keep that number down. They haven't really increased the amount of 6-star signature stones that we can earn here. They always add a little trickle there. And they have, however, somehow made this the place for casual players to pick up rank 4 materials, which, again, kind of does not make sense at all. But side events I'm going to leave alone because they are very irrelevant, irregular. They bounce up and down and up and down, and some of them are awful, some of them are fine. I don't think I remember a side event that was, amazing that I really wanted to get to in a really, really long time, though. But I will tell that last month's side event was just abysmally bad. But hey, I guess, you create plenty different events. Some of them are bound to be misses, so I'm not going to be overly critical there. But it is very weird with their reward structure and what they are doing there, though. The Eternity of Pain, I will make a separate video, because that is a piece of content that I kind of have to bash in separately as well. And then we have story content. I mean, again, unfortunately with story content, I covered this in the previous KT time, where the story, to me, feels very stale. When 6.3 came out, when 6.4 came out, 7.1 came out, I was like super excited because I didn't know what I'm gonna get. I was like ready to take on any and all challenges. I was really pumped. Now that 7.3 was coming out, 7.4 was coming out, I knew exactly what I'm gonna get. It's gonna be 6 quests with 6 paths, with 6 fights on each path, and blah, 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 blah. And all of it seems quite bland. Honestly, I can't really tell them apart. If Act 6, somebody takes a screenshot of, 6.23, I can immediately recognize it. Somebody takes a screenshot of 6.14, I can recognize it. Act 7, I have no clue, even if that is the content that I have played the most recently. Why? Because it's just kind of bland at this point. I'm not talking about difficulty level. I'm not talking make it super hard. I'm just talking do something interesting there. And yeah, I don't know. I'm personally definitely not overly hyped about new story content chapters with how Kebab has been releasing them. They just seem cold, bland, tasteless, with no personality. Like, there's no distinction of some sort of individuality, designer's personality or something like that. Act 6, Act 5 is a great example. Act 5 I thought was, fairly reasonable difficulty level. But it was all different. Every map was different. There were different ideas. And you have to kind of wait for them to get released to kind of judge the content. Right now, I know exactly what's going to happen in 8.1. I know exactly what's going to happen in 8.2. Yeah, maybe there are going to be some new nodes or something like that. But I know exactly what I'm getting into. And I realized that the most when 8.1 beta came out, I didn't really want to play it. I just didn't care. 8.1 in my eyes was exactly the same as 7.4, exactly the same as 7.3, exactly the same as 7.2, and I just didn't care for it. So I do hope that they kind of mash it up. And again, I'm not talking about level of difficulty. I don't think acts should be extremely difficult. I do think we should have gauntlets for it. I do think we should have like Abyss of Legends new version or something like that for difficult content. And competitive aspects maybe are left best to stuff like Battlegrounds. I'm just saying it's all very bland and tasteless and boring and same kind of sterile content. It used to be fun, not so much anymore. About back issues and variants, I just don't care about them anymore. It's kind of funny because Kabam said that this is not a content meant for endgame players, and the rewards are definitely not there for endgame players. But they made this last one significantly harder than virtually, last previous 5 or 6. But that being said, unless they do some sort of major rework, add another difficulty on top of it, I don't care about variants. They can stop releasing them altogether if they are not willing to completely rework them. I think, for new and progressing players, I think having 8 in a game is a lot. And, if they would release new one next week, yeah, I'd clear it, but it's not something, again, that will get me excited or something like that. Starting from the rewards to the level of difficulty to the level of commitment required, it's just, as Kabam said, not every piece of content is for everybody, and I have been feeling that, variants are definitely not for me or something that I should be excited about anymore. If they change it, if they update it, if they add new difficulties to it or something like that, yeah, then we can take a look. But variants like they have been releasing last 4 or 5, just, neat, nice. I always thought of them as kind of like an extra monthly quest, pretty much. And because the rewards are fairly comparable. Okay, you get slightly more, but it's not that much different. And monthly quest actually gives you some 6-star 6 stones, which variants don't, for instance. Anyways, I think that kind of pretty much covered the most aspects. The one thing that obviously we can't see at the moment is Battlegrounds. And that is perhaps the biggest thing. I do think the game's future largely depends on Battlegrounds. And Kabam not butchering the Battlegrounds completely. There are obviously many things about Battlegrounds that they changed and implemented that I didn't like. The 3 charges for champions before they need a recharge, the recharge costing 45 units, them using the same energy as questing energy, and I do think that scoring system could be adjusted. I do think that time matters slightly too much. I do think that time should be about 10,000 points instead of 15,000 points. But ultimately, without getting too much into the detail, about 75% of my excitement about the game, my future interest in the game, revolves around Battlegrounds. Which is huge, which in itself means that the game mode has left a major, massive impression on me. And with that, now that it's gone, I realize how empty I have become for the rest of the Battlegrounds of Champions. Battlegrounds is quite, like, if somebody told me today the entire Battlegrounds thing is cancelled, I'd be, okay, done. I can go and do something else. Like, I have proportionally much less emotion about everything else in this game combined than I have at the moment for Battlegrounds. And now that we don't have them here, unfortunately, because Kabam can't seemingly address the problems that they have with Battlegrounds with modders and bugs and a whole bunch of other things, then it definitely makes me realize how meaningful that game mode is. We're going to talk about that in the next episode of KT Time, so I'm going to leave that there. But I think Battlegrounds is really where, my personal kind of attention is definitely going to go for foreseeable future, unless Kabam obviously butchers the game mode with some stupid relics or some other crap that nobody wants. But we're going to get there. We're going to get that. And other than that, I think I kind of covered most game modes, starting from Arena to Incursions to Alliance Quest, Alliance Wars, story content, monthly side quest, event quest. I think that's pretty much it there for now. Now, the key thing, obviously, to discuss in State of the Game is the bugs and the control issues and the general dismay and despair in community. Virtually every day I hear somebody coming to my stream saying, stop playing the game, thank you for whatever videos you made. So yeah, and you can quite visibly see that in most YouTubers' numbers. They have been dropping, streams haven't been as popular. And this, unfortunately, whether you like to put your head in the sand or, you can pull it out of your own rectum and face the reality, the fact is the player base is dwindling at the moment, and it is purely 100% of Kabam's inability to address the problems in the game. People place Alliance War defense and it bugs out and it doesn't place for them. I have never been parried or intercepted as often in my life. Last 3 weeks, I have gotten face in a gotten hit in the face more than I have in the last year. Either I absolutely have, I don't know, forgotten how to play and how broken both my hands and just don't realize it yet, but they don't actually move. But I have never gotten hit, intercepted, and parried as often as I am doing right now. And, you know, you kind of think, it can't always be the game's fault, and I'm sure that some of it's my fault. But undoubtedly, you know, there is a pattern with thousands of players that are experiencing the same thing. The game is awful. And Kabam is awful about it. They stop the compensation, the communication's absolutely shit. Many of these issues have been in the game for a year. And I do think that the biggest issue right now is not that we have a particular problem or 5 particular problems in the game. It's the sheer volume and amount about them. The memory leak, the energy refill issues, then obviously still the controls. I think the biggest problem is that people just don't have faith in Kabam and their ability to fix it. Because we don't see any urgency, we don't see any sincerity from Kabam. Forum staff often replies, you know, like, we owe them money. Super naive, arrogant answers that don't say anything. Well, thank you. You know, some sort of bot answers like, oh, your problem has been noted, I'll inform the team, or sorry for the inconvenience caused. We don't need that. And again, for years and years and years, Kabam promises this better communication, and we never receive it. We never get any details. We never get never get pushed in on the actual process and updates of the progress, what is happening, how far are what things kind of like in development, and how long till we can expect to see some specific fixes. And I think that's the most frustrating thing. I know that I personally have very, very, very little faith in Kabam to be able to do anything. Like, you can report a single person modding in Battlegrounds 15 times in a day, and a month later that person's still playing the game. How can you explain that? You can report a major issue that a friend of mine had, where the base game basically glitched out and didn't place all of his champions in defense, and he ended up, you know, only placing like 3 champions instead of his 5, and was unable to place the rest. And he just gets automatically generated a reply that, oh, we're getting many requests, so we're busy right now, basically kick rocks. Kabam forums is like some sort of cult where every second dissenting message gets deleted, even if you're perfectly valid cause for concerns, if it's a perfectly reasonable question. If you just ask or post something unflattering to Kabam with the best of intentions, you just might get banned or kicked. So there is no avenue to even for you to kind of have an open, proper dialogue with Kabam, let alone expect Kabam to be transparent towards us. And it does often feel like you're helpless, shouting in the abyss. I know I feel like that right now, screaming at everything that's wrong in this game. Starting with the bugs, going on with the game engine problems, to the issues with the game modes and the reward structures, to the entire monetization policy, to everything. And it does feel like we're just shouting in abyss and nobody's hearing us. And it's very powerless feeling. It really is. And then time and time again, we calm down, we put our faith in Kabam. They seem to give us some promises, they seem to address some issues, they seem to fix something, but we inevitably return right back to this point. In fact, I can guarantee you, if this game picks itself up and that starts doing better, eventually, 6 months, year down the line, we're gonna get back to this place where nothing works, everybody's pissed off, people are leaving, and only then at some point, when probably it shows up in some sort of financial reports or user engagement, they do something, and then they put it away again, and then they do something, and then they let everything go to shit, and then they do something, and then they let everything go to shit. So I guess my question is, Why do they always have to let everything go to shit before actually trying to do something? Anyways, so that is my current view on state of the game. Virtually only hope I have for the game right now is Battlegrounds. And it's not even in here right now. Yeah.
Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the